All right, let's dive into something that's, well, a fundamental human skill, storytelling. I mean, think about it. Whether you're trying to inspire your team or just connect with a client, being able to tell a great story, it's like a superpower, right? So how do you unlock it? Let's get into it. Okay, this quote from Anton Chekhov. This is the heart of everything we're going to cover today. Seriously, it's the golden rule. It's the difference between just stating a cold, hard fact and making someone truly feel an experience. We're not just going to talk about ideas here. We're going to explore how you can create moments that really resonate, that connect, and that actually make an impact. And look, this isn't just some, nice to have skill. This is actually pretty urgent. Get this. A recent report found that 43% of people feel disconnected at work. 43%. That is a huge gap in belonging and trust. And you know what the single most powerful tool we have to bridge that gap is? You guessed it, a well-told story. All right, so first up, let's get into the why. Let's talk about the human connection engine. Why do stories work so well on us? It's not magic, folks. It's pure biology. So what is storytelling, really, at its core? I mean, this definition is a great start, but it's so much more than just revealing elements. It's really about building trust. It's about influencing and inspiring people. Just think about the best teachers you've ever had. I bet they were amazing storytellers, right? They turned lessons into these incredible adventures that made you want to learn. Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. Let's talk neuroscience. When you listen to a compelling emotional story, your brain actually releases oxytocin, the social bonding hormone. It's the same chemical linked to empathy and trust. So when we talk about that 43% of people feeling disconnected, well, this is the chemical bridge. A great story doesn't just entertain you. It's literally priming your brain to connect. It's a biological shortcut to building a relationship. How cool is that? So knowing the science is one thing, but how do we actually do it? How do we put it into practice? Well, that brings us to our next section, the power of being real. Because the most effective stories, they don't come from perfect people, they come from authentic ones. Yeah, the best storytellers are not just performers, they're connectors. They're willing to embrace vulnerability, to be authentic. They're empathetic. They actually listen and engage with their audience, adjusting as they go. And of course, they've got this enthusiasm that's just completely contagious. It's not about putting on a big show. It's really about sharing a piece of yourself. Okay, but here's a really crucial point. Vulnerability has its limits. There's a huge difference between sharing from a scar and sharing from an open wound. Think about it. A scar is a story of healing, of a lesson you've learned. It invites people to connect with your journey. An open wound? That's raw. It's unprocessed pain, and it can make your audience really uncomfortable, almost like you're asking them to fix it for you. So effective vulnerability, it's all about reflection, not just raw emotion. Okay, so we've talked about the mindset of the storyteller. Being real, being authentic. But that brings us right back to that big central question, the one from Chekhov at the beginning. How do you actually show, not just tell, when you're writing or speaking? And that leads us perfectly into our next section, which is all about that golden rule. Show, don't tell. I'm telling you, mastering this one principle will completely transform how you communicate. It's what turns flat, boring statements into truly vivid experiences. Okay, this example just illustrates it perfectly. On the left, you've got telling. Michael was terribly afraid of the dark. Okay, fine. We get the information. But look at the right. Showing. As his mother switched off the light, Michael tensed. He huddled under the covers, gripped the sheets, and held his breath. See? We feel his fear. We're right there with him. The writer doesn't even need to use the word afraid because we figure it out ourselves, and that makes it 100 times more powerful. So the key, the real secret here, is to paint a picture using sensory details and actions. You have to ask yourself, what does the character see? What do they hear? What do they feel? By focusing on these concrete, specific details, you're not just telling a story, you're creating an immersive experience. You're basically transporting your audience right into the scene. Okay, so you get the principle of show, don't tell. Awesome. Now let's get super tactical. We're going to look at 2 incredibly simple story frameworks that you can start using like today. First up is something called the ABT framework. It stands for and, but, therefore. Seriously, this is the backbone of pretty much every logical story you've ever heard. and sets up the world, the context, but introduces the problem, the conflict, and therefore it gives you the resolution. You can use this for literally anything from a huge pitch to just a simple email. It's short, it's clear, and it just works. Next up, we have the famous Pixar pitch, from the movies. This 6-sentence structure is just brilliant for creating a complete emotional journey. It goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a small business. Every day, they struggled. One day, something new came along. Because of that, things got easier. Because of that, they saved time and money, until finally, they could focus on what really mattered. See that? It's a masterclass in building a satisfying story that takes your audience on a real journey.
All right, so you've got the mindset, you've got the core principle, and you've got 2 powerful frameworks in your back pocket. So that brings us to our final section, your path to mastery. Because at the end of the day, storytelling is a skill, and like any skill, you get better by doing it. I absolutely love this quote from Ophira Eisenberg because it just hits the nail on the head. The engine of any great story is change. Something has to be different at the end than it was at the beginning. If you started out awesome and things were awesome the whole time and they ended awesome, well, that's not really a story, is it? Without that journey, that transformation, all you have is an anecdote.
So what are the actionable steps? How can you practice this? First, always know your audience. Adjust your story for who you're talking to. Second, have a clear goal. Stick to the rule of 1. What's the one single message you want them to walk away with? Third, and this is a big one, just practice. Tell stories often and don't be afraid to mess up. And finally, ask for feedback. Find someone you trust and ask them what worked and what didn't. That's how you really grow.
And we'll end on this thought. You're now equipped with the art and the science of connection. You've got the principles, you've got the frameworks, and you know how to practice. The only thing left is to actually do it. So I'll leave you with this question to take with you. What story, big or small, are you going to share today?